Hey fam, so it is time for a good old-fashioned walk and talk, because your boy Drex has got some thoughts about identity and he wants to share them with you today. Drex here from DrexFactor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And in this video, we are talking a little bit about how identity comes into how we deal with the outside world. But before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Fire Mecha, Flow Fests, Flow Toys, Pyroterra Light Toys, and Ultra Poi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these awesome companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I have down in the description of this here video. So let's talk for a second about who we are versus how we are seen. Because there's always going to be a gap between those two things. Other people experience us not as a constant series of moments like we do inhabiting our own heads, but as an intermittent presence. You know, they may get a selection of those moments that add up to a picture that is pretty different than what we perceive in our own minds, or the events that they perceive might wind up aligning quite closely with how we see ourselves. It kind of depends. The thing is, though, is that we can't really control the moments that others receive of us. We can't control when they're watching and when they're not. And yet, so many of us define ourselves and our self-worth according to the perceptions of those who are viewing us from afar. And the thing about doing that is, only we ourselves actually have the full picture. See, I think that a lot of us look at the reception that we receive from our friends and people in our community as kind of like a barometer as to whether we're good people, how worthy we are, or even like what our sense of self-image should be. But like by definition, when we give that power away to others, it also means that we're robbing ourselves of the agency of true self-knowledge. If we can trust others to ascribe our value, but we can't trust ourselves, not only have we placed one of the most important facets of our relationship with ourselves in the hands of people who are working with very incomplete data, we're also kind of saying, in effect, that we don't trust ourselves. Relying on perceptions of ourselves to guide our sense of worth, self, and value places us in a position where we're always working to prove ourselves to our friends, to our family, to complete strangers. And in many cases, it's to people who've decided who we are already based upon their own prejudices rather than who we actually are. So here's the really, really, really important part of this to kind of receive and absorb. And that's that it seems like when we're seeking that acceptance, part of what we're also seeking is an impact or even healing, a feeling of belonging. But the problem is it's actually a recipe for shame and disappointment and frustration. Because as painful as it is, we will never be seen as we see ourselves, because that's just not in our control. But do you know what is in our control? We can learn to trust ourselves. We can recognize that only we are present for our entire lives. We can recognize that if we can't trust, love, and respect ourselves, that there's no amount of external perception that's going to change that. Seeking it leads to an endless cycle of prostrating ourselves before the fickle temperaments of others, and not infrequently sacrificing parts of our own happiness in order to win the approval of others. Because seeking that approval in the first place is a statement that the approval of others is more important than anything we already have within us, including our own happiness. And granted, sometimes that relationship with ourselves is pretty complicated. Sometimes having access to all of the moments of our life feels like a curse in and of itself, because so many of those moments are things that we feel ashamed of, and we're kind of grateful that only we are privy to them. And the approval of others represents an escape. Like, it becomes a character that we can play that is everything that we fear we are not. Confident, sexy, smart, popular, humble, talented, or even wise. But like, I've played a version of that character many times in my life. I've believed if only I can get other people to believe that this is who I am, maybe I can believe it myself. But the psychological strain of trying to inhabit that character, of being the perfect version of this person that I wished to be, wore away at me. It added to my shame rather than reducing it, because as I had access to all my moments, I was really abundantly aware of just how big a lie the character I was playing actually was. Because, like, here's the thing. The personas that we create to win approval, they aren't actually escapes. Over time, they become prisons. People may seem to love and respect us, but not for who we are, but for who we pretend to be in order to earn their approval. And as a result, we sit in fear the day when they discover who we actually are. And because we're ashamed of that person, we assume that they're going to be too. Like, real talk. None of us are perfect. We just have to accept that. As my therapist reminded me during a discussion of the film Conclave, even the Pope sins. I don't think that it's healthy to make our job winning the approval of others. I think that we need to win the approval of ourselves. To look at the sum of the moments that we and only we are privy to and recognize that even in those moments of selfishness and pettiness, of weakness, wrath, self-doubt, greed, condescension, and so many more, that we are actually still worthy of love from ourselves and from nobody else. Look, straight up, we all make mistakes, and we all do things that we regret. Accept them. Judging yourself for them means that you'll also judge others for them, and the cycle will just continue. But seriously, above all else, please, learn to trust yourself. Learn to accept yourself. Asking other people to do it for you isn't just dangerous. It almost never works out in the end. Whew, so that was intense. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to help other people find this video and hopefully help my channel grow. This video would not be possible without my amazing supporters on Patreon. In particular, I'd love to give a shout out to my Flow patrons who are listed on screen right now. Thank you all so much for your support. And if you out there watching would like to, say, get your name in the credits or access to a host of a whole bunch of other awesome rewards, you can get access to those by going and signing up for my Patreon over at patreon.com/DrexFactor Poi. I'll leave a link to it down in the description as well as up in the cards. And if you would like to see a series of other vlogs I've done on various topics related to mental health, I'll go ahead and include a link to a playlist of those videos up on screen so you can check them out for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you with a new video real soon. Peace.